Very big welcome to everyone here on Reset 2020 and introducing our subject matter specialist from the X Factor Collective. In the top left-hand corner, we have Renae, Hanvin, stakeholder engagement specialist and disaster specialist as well. So someone great to speak to around recovery and resilience in the disaster space. Linda Garnett in the top right there, corporate partnership specialist. And Linda Smith, welcome. Linda Smith is the head of partnerships at Beyond Blue. Linda's been with Beyond Blue for a couple of years now, and prior to that has worked at a number of organisations including Myer, Bunnings, Australia Post and Breast Cancer Network. Welcome, Linda.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
I know you've been very, very busy over the last couple of months with Beyond Blue, such an important time and an important organisation for all of us right now. But could you share perhaps in your role there at Beyond Blue, what's something that's been a real highlight for you so far?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There's been quite a few things that have been standouts, but I think overall, I really feel that working with partners in this role, obviously in partnership management, who have that real genuine commitment to mental health and to our cause, and just seeing how passionate they are and wanting to support the work we do. And really, it's so much more than just a philanthropic type of relationship. It's a really strong, mutually beneficial partnership and really working together. And that's been really fantastic to see. And I really feel that there's been a real shift in that in recent years in regards to the way that our partners want to work. It's certainly moved well beyond just, them getting a financial contribution from our partners and giving them our logo. We're really doing some amazing things with some of our partners, which is great. And the other thing that I've been really loving seeing is that obviously with our partners, we have the relationship with the partnership manager on the partner side, but seeing the passion in other parts of the partner organisation is really fantastic to see. So other parts of their organisation, people within their organisation being really passionate about the partnership. And that's been so great. And we found with some of our partners that it's actually been other parts of the business that have come up with some really great initiatives that we've been able to do in the partnership. And they've brought that to their partnership manager equivalent, who's then brought it to us. And it's just been so great to see their passion and excitement.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, let's jump into, I guess, some of your experiences from the last couple of months. And thank you for coming on and sharing this with us today. Can you share with us what were the immediate impacts of COVID-19 on the organisation and the recent disasters as well?
Yeah, look, certainly it's been a challenging time, as we've all mentioned, the start of 2020. The recent bushfire crisis and the ongoing pandemic are definitely having a profound impact on everyone in Australia at the moment. Working in the mental health sector, we're seeing that a growing number of people are looking for support to cope with the widespread effects of what's currently going on. So we're finding that the pandemic is having an impact on people who've actually never struggled with mental health in the past, as well as those who have an existing mental health concern. And as a result, we've actually seen an increase in demand for all of our services. Initially, when the pandemic first started, we saw a really big jump in calls related to the coronavirus to our support service. And we actually had 1 in 4 calls related around to concerns around the virus.
Right.
Some of the issues that people were reporting, which you probably have heard these before, increased loneliness, the social isolation and issues around that, work anxiety, so fears around people keeping their jobs or having to work at home, managing children, looking after family, job loss and unemployment. So obviously we've seen how that's had a huge impact in the recent months, and then family stress and relationship breakdowns.
Right.
So what we've done at Beyond Blue, we've now set up a dedicated coronavirus mental wellbeing support service. And that's to give people a specific place to go for information and support around the pandemic. So that service is available via phone, and I'll just say the number because it's available for everyone. So it's 1-800-512-348. And we've also got a dedicated website at coronavirus.beyondblue.org.au, and this has information that's been constantly updated as the pandemic evolves, and we really encourage everyone to really go and visit the website, because really I think it's having an impact on everyone. So, and really useful information. We've also seen workplaces reach out to us because, you know, the nature of work has changed dramatically over the past few months. And this has obviously impacted our partners too. So, you know, more people are having to work from home. Businesses have had to stand down staff or reduce staff hours. And as a result, a lot of workplaces are coming to us asking for some support. And we also have quite a bit of information that we've developed to support businesses and people in that.
Great, fantastic.
And I suppose,
sorry, when you finish that one, I was going to say, can you go sort of a little narrower now in terms of what have been some of the impacts around donations, partnerships, that whole area that you oversee?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
With our existing partners, you know, they've all been impacted in different ways depending on how the pandemic has impacted them. So, for example, one of our partners has had to stand down their whole partnerships team. Another one of our partners has had to stand down their whole workforce as a result of the government mandated shutdown. We've had other partners who've really reached out to ask for help to support for the mental wellbeing of their staff, and then others who were after information to help their audiences and their customers. So they've all been impacted differently. And we found that at the moment they're all still connected very much within the partnership with us. So the ones that have really had to stand down their workforce have gone quiet, but that doesn't mean that we're still not in contact with them. You know, we're obviously understanding and respecting what they're going through, but still really wanting to be there and wanting to support them during this time. And also we had another partner too who's really been impacted. They've kind of fed back to us. Their focus is primarily in regional areas, and they've fed back to us that it's actually the drought and the recent bushfires that have actually had more of an impact than the pandemic. And so, you know, it's really important for us to all remember that it's coming, you know, the pandemic has come off those devastating bushfires, and it's really important that, you know, we remember that those communities are still struggling. So we're also, you know, really conscious of that and really wanting to provide support out to all of those communities too.
Great. And for those that are listening in who might not be aware of the types of partnerships that Beyond Blue have, can you run us through some of the different types of organisations that you do have partnerships with? Yeah,
sure. So we've got a wonderful partnership with Southern Cross Austereo. So we're into our second year of partnering with Southern Cross Austereo, and they've been providing in-kind support by providing advertising support for us, so primarily through radio. And that's been a wonderful partnership for us because it's enabled us to really get our messages and our information out to a really wide audience. So the types of things we've been doing through them is our campaigns. So we have an anxiety campaign that they've been running for us, and that's really great because it's really helping to really increase the awareness of what we're doing, and also ensuring that people know how to get the support they need and that it's okay to reach out for support. So that's been incredibly powerful. We've had a partnership with Qantas, so obviously they've been impacted with the recent pandemic. That's been an in-kind partnership too, and as part of that partnership, they've been wonderful in enabling us to show some of our campaigns in flight on the in-flight entertainment. So that's been incredibly valuable for us because, you know, our vision, we want all people in Australia to achieve their best possible mental health. So by sharing our information out through their channels, that's really helping us to achieve that objective. We're entering a partnership with Australia Post at the moment, and that's going to be an amazing partnership. Again, you know, really, really committed to the partnership. All of our partners really have really passion for what we're doing and really want to get behind the cause and really support what we're doing. Yeah.
That's great. So when all of this hit over the last couple of months, can you give us a sense of what you saw from your corporate partners? Did some of them go quiet for a while? Did some of them jump straight in and ask you what you needed? What was sort of some of the experiences you had there?
Well, I think what happened was initially, like, we were very conscious of what was going on with the partners. So we actually reached out to our partners proactively. Nurturing the relationship with our partners is fundamental to what we do in our partnership. So really it was just an extension of that. And we really wanted to just see how they were going and find out what we could do to support them. Obviously through that we got quite a bit of feedback. And, you know, as I mentioned, some of them have had to shut down. And those ones have gone a bit quieter, but we are still working with them. And then we had others like, you know, Southern Cross Austereo, who wanted to find out how they could support us and support the cause and, you know, use their channels and their reach to get messages out to as many people as possible, really to support the, you know, the Australian public, so that, you know, people knew where to get the support they needed. Because, you know, during these times, it's you know, really important that people know that support is available. We also had our CEO and our general manager call all of our partners to check in on them. And that really, you know, we really demonstrated to our partners that, you know, we really do value the partnership. And again, this wasn't something that was just out of the blue, because, you know, we've made sure that we've established relationships at different levels with our partners. And so, you know, for our CEO, our general manager, to call them, it's not the first time they've ever spoken to them. So it wasn't just a random call out of the blue. And then from there, we've, you know, really worked with them and finding out what they need and how we can support them. So really our focus was all about that. So, you know, we've work with them on how we can support their staff during this time. And, you know, as I mentioned, all of our partners have been impacted differently. Some have actually had to completely stand down all of their staff. And so, you know, really talking that through with them and providing information. Others are really busy at the moment, so it's also providing them that support. So yeah, just really tailoring it too. So not having like one kind of cookie cutter response for all the partners, just speaking to them directly and finding out what they need.
Great, fantastic, excellent. Well, let's jump across into some of the things that are starting to come through, some of the successes that you've been having as well of late. I think this is the inspiring part of the Reset 2020 program, is everyone being able to be encouraged by the, you know, the successes that people are having and the reinventions that are happening. Can you share with us today a couple of those highlights? A little bit of detail around what those successes and what those new partnership aspects are.
Yeah, so when the COVID-19 hit, we were actually in the process of finalising a partnership agreement with one of our partners. And like every other business, their operations have been impacted. We'd actually already worked with this partner on some trial initiatives whilst we were negotiating the partnership over the previous 12 months. And as a result of that, we'd established multiple points of value for both parties within the partnership. So as I mentioned earlier, that was really great because it meant that we were able to have different points of contacts within the organisation, which enabled stakeholders within their business to be invested in the partnership, which is really important. I've actually seen in past partnerships where the relationship is being built with just the one person on the corporate side. And when that person left the company, the partnership actually fell completely apart because there was no one else in the corporate that was invested in that partnership. So I'd really strongly suggest that, you know, it's a really good idea to build those relationships at different levels and different touch points within your corporate partner, because it's just a great way to really engage multiple stakeholders in the partnership. So what we found with this partner was that, you know, we'd already, the first thing was we went into the partnership knowing there was a genuine alignment. And as I mentioned earlier, that's really critical. So for them, like, it wasn't just around giving us some financial support. It was really a lot about that, that objective of supporting the mental health of everyone. And so there was really strong mutual benefits of the partnership that we developed. We'd also, and because of that, when the pandemic hit, we were actually really fortunate to be the only charity partner that they've actually continued to support in the current environment, which is really, you know, really wonderful for us. I think the coronavirus pandemic has really demonstrated that genuine alignment is so important, because if partners didn't see the benefit of the partnership, at those different levels, then I think we would have been at a really great risk of being let go in the current environment.
Sure.
Because, you know, companies are obviously looking where they can cut costs. So often the charity aspects of their business are the first things to go. So it's really important that, you know, you can demonstrate that there's strong value to the business and the corporate. And we also had a few of our existing partner contracts ending around the time the pandemic was hitting.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say that also because of the strong relationships that we do have with our corporate partners, that actually all of our partners continued at the same level of support, which has been fantastic for us.
That's great. Very, very encouraging to hear for sure. One of the questions that's come through here as well, Linda, from Richard, has what's been the impact on Beyond Blue's donations, existing donations to the organisation? Slightly different area of partnerships, but can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Look, we've definitely, whilst we've seen a massive demand for our services, the vital funding we do receive from the community has fallen, like I think most others have experienced, and really primarily due to the cancellation of fundraising events and initiatives related to the social distancing regulations. So yeah, we've certainly had that impact. Absolutely. I think fortunately in partnerships we haven't really, like Linda said, we haven't really been too badly impacted. However, certainly we've seen that on the fundraising side to a degree. Yeah.
Okay, great, excellent. Linda Garnett, at this point in time, I know from running a small organisation in the past myself, I'm sitting here thinking I wish I was Beyond Blue with big teams and having these type of partnerships. Maybe we might just take some reflection here for those that are sort of a smaller organisation, where it might be the CEO that's looking after partnerships, don't have a dedicated resource. Are partnerships still relevant for small organisations, and what are you seeing for small organisations?
Yeah, they're absolutely still relevant, and there's some great examples, especially during the bushfire time where the smaller organisations were really extremely active. I remember talking to the CEO of Mitre and all of their members, as they call them, which are individual franchises. We're talking about how each franchise was really getting to grips with the issues of bushfires and the needs in their community. So I remember there was a Mitre 10 out in Bairnsdale, Victoria, that was hosting the Gippsland fire relief effort and helping them with logistics, doing the packing, using their locations, and then all their tradies and their tools were going off to try and help rebuild people's houses. So it's not just big organisations, it's smaller ones as well. But there are some key things, as Linda said, strategic alignment is going to be really important. So can you answer the question, if you're approaching a new corporate partner, about what is the impact we're going to have together? And why are you talking to me versus I have need, and so therefore I'm kind of going out to a mass broadcast, info@bank.com to see who might respond. And you've noticed probably in the last few weeks that people being shut down in their homes means that a lot of people are shopping locally and thinking more narrowly about their community and wanting to be connecting with them. So for the smaller businesses and the SMEs, that's absolutely critical because they have a really meaningful and authentic footprint in their local community. And for the larger ones, they'd really love to have that. They actually want to show their commitment to community in a meaningful way as well. So I'd say to the smaller organisations, you don't have to be Beyond Blue, but you do have to be ready, and you do have to be able to answer some really key questions about why you're aligned and what sort of outcomes can you achieve together for your cause, for the community, and for the wider benefit.
Fantastic. And later on in the show as well, not later on, we're not here for that much longer really, but in the next sort of 15 minutes or so, we are going to address the question which came through quite strongly in our research, was around looking for new partnerships and that whole sort of partnership acquisition space. Linda's going to speak to that shortly as well, if that's a burning question for you right now. We'll have some material there. We also have a video library of 100 free videos that we've developed at the X Factor Collective. So we're going to be sharing some specific videos from that video library with you after the show as well on those specific questions. I'm just going to wrap up the live poll here. If anyone wants to jump in and have their contribution in the next 30 seconds or so, that would be great. The big one that's coming through on the live poll is there that 51% are concerned about less cash in corporate budgets. That's the biggest challenge and concern right now coming through on the live poll. Linda, both Lindas, what are you seeing in terms of that? Just let's address that while we see it here on the live poll. Less cash in corporate budgets. What do you expect in this area? Or what are you seeing as well?
Do you want me to go first? I think that prior to COVID-19, you know, we'd obviously been looking at our strategy and thinking about potential partners we could look at approaching. And that's all different now. Like, I think it's completely changed. I think there's definitely opportunities out there. I think it's about really thinking about really thinking about alignment to your organisation and which organisations at the moment are looking okay in the current environment. Like, I think that's really important, because I think you've got to really take into consideration what's going on with the corporate side. And what we've actually found too is some organisations that you think would actually be going okay maybe aren't going as okay as you might have expected, yet others actually that you think might not be are actually going okay. So I think it's really doing your research. I think it's definitely opportunities out there, and I think really just really understanding what your value proposition is and what you've got to offer is really important, and then having those conversations, and like Linda said, not just sending mass emails out, just really having those conversations and finding out what are the pain points of the businesses at the moment, and how can you potentially help them with that. And I think that's a really nice conversation starter, as opposed to ringing up and just asking for funds up front.
Fantastic, excellent. Linda, Garnett, do you have a reflection on that in terms of that? And I've shared the live poll results with everyone there. Hopefully you're all able to see that those results. And I told a white lie, actually the red line there, where and how to find new partners was the biggest challenge. So that's at 63%. But just in terms of that less cash question, Linda, what's your thoughts on that?
Look, that's completely understandable at the current time, and it's probably a mirror image of what happened after the GFC in 2008. Immediate cash budgets were a little bit tighter, and the competition for those budgets was a bit more fierce. But some organisations are really thriving out there. Do you want to try and pick a winner? I'm not sure. Given how much my family has eaten during the lockdown, I think my money would be on Weight Watchers or Light and Easy, quite frankly, coming out of this sort of lockdown, because we're definitely going to be needing it by Christmas. But some are really thriving. So don't be afraid to look for those opportunities. But cash may not be the first point, but that doesn't mean that cash is not there. So think about how you can achieve what you want to achieve, whether it's, for Beyond Blue, it's about reach and impact and getting the message out there. If someone had given you $1 million and just dropped it in a bag on your lap, what would you do with it? Would it be better to actually go, you know what, a partner can provide bigger channels, bigger audiences, different ways of connecting with the audiences, and I can actually achieve that in a different way. There's a wonderful organisation, I know that Jean is on the line on the chat as well, called No to Violence, which deals with male perpetrators of family violence. And they've created a great partnership with Unimel and with NAB to create a website called The Better Man, which drives men to actually seek help earlier when they can see themselves going down that path and falling into the trap of family violence. And now that's a great way of achieving the organisation's mission, but they don't necessarily need cash or just cash. Great. So as I said earlier, if you have a conversation around value and impact, then the cash comes. It's just not necessarily the lead-in point at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think with that too, like we've actually had examples of a partner who is actually producing some video learning content for us. And that's something that was in our budget to pay for ourselves, but we actually found a partner to help us do that. So by reducing the cost, it's also you know, it's almost the same as getting the revenue in, because you are saving that money. It's just in a different way. So there's lots of opportunities to think about different ways of how you can connect with partners out there.
Fantastic. Excellent. Now, Renae, Hanvin, over to you. Love your reflections here. Over the years, I've loved the term that you say, token is broken. And there's certainly been a few examples given just now of non-tokenistic partnerships. Can you reflect on everything that's being said here around Beyond Blue's engagement activity and what really stands out for you?
Yeah, I think Linda Smith has given a great overview in terms of good practice engagement and collaboration between stakeholders. It definitely has to be a win-win, so there's got to be value on both sides. The big thing for me, particularly in the disaster space, is you've got to have, the partnerships have got to be authentic. So you really need to, it needs to align with the strategic vision and the priority and the focus for the giver and the receiver, because token is broken, and there's been great examples, and I'm not going to name and shame, but there have been really clear examples of reactive giving or reactive partnerships or reactive goodwill to communities relating to the bushfires predominantly, that you kind of question. It's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do. You've got yourself in the media, so you've got your PR around it, but really what impact or what outcome is going to come from it? So I think that's, you know, if you are going to look for new partnerships, or if you want to talk to your existing partnerships, absolutely think more than cash, because the cash part is the easy part. There is so much more that can come, which is much more valuable, but also make sure that it's not just, you know, a perceived good idea by you that actually is probably going to be impactful or harmful for those that you're trying to help.
Fantastic. And stay on the show with us as well. Renae Hanvin has a great hat trick later for us, but she's going to show you a stakeholder engagement activity that you can run with your team. You can do it virtually. That's how we're all doing everything now at the moment, but some activities that you can run with your team, with your volunteers as well, to actually think a bit more broadly and creatively around your stakeholder engagement. So stay on the line with us. Look forward to seeing Renae's, I keep calling it the hat trick, but it's an activity and a tool that you'll be able to use. That's great. Linda Smith, coming back to, you talked a lot about good relationship management, and I think that point that you made before about those different points in the organisation, of your organisation, having those connections with your partners, the general manager getting on the call and others getting on and making calls at this time, and that really solid relationship management being key. What do you think, other than that, have been the keys to Beyond Blue's success in preserving and enhancing these relationships at this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just prior to the COVID pandemic, we'd actually put in place a partnerships framework. So, and that was really great because it actually really helped clearly define for us what we were doing. So we started off by actually defining what a corporate partnership is, and that was really important because it really made it clear to us that, you know, it really was around that, finding partners that deliver mutually beneficial outcomes for both parties, and, you know, achieving both organisations as strategic objectives. So really moving away from that philanthropic model. We then defined our assets. So we did lots of workshops across our organisation internally, really to find out all those hidden assets that are hiding in the corners that you don't really think of, that could be, you know, really beneficial for partners, and engage different stakeholders in the business. And that also helped engage them in doing partnerships and getting involved. And really having that clear list of assets was really helpful for us too, because then when we're looking at partners and who we could potentially partner with, we can look at what they might be interested in and what could really benefit them and what we've got to offer. And yeah, we did things like we put in place a criteria for selecting partners. So we don't have a lot of partners. So you're probably surprised if you go to our website, you know, we've only got really a handful. But the partners, really our strategy is we've got fewer strategic partners that make big impact rather than lots of small little ones. And that's really important for us. And we really value and nurture our partners, which I think we've talked about already. And when we look at a, you know, potential partner bringing it on, even in this environment, so that hasn't actually changed. We ask ourselves, does it make sense for Beyond Blue to partner with this organisation? And what are the synergies? How would this partnership help us with our strategic objectives? what are those opportunities beyond that in-kind or financial support? Can we use their channels? We look at all of that thing when we're considering a partner, and why do they want to partner with us? So, you know, that's really important for us, because, you know, we wouldn't want to partner with an organisation that wasn't dedicated to good mental health practices with their staff, for example. So we would not want to partner with organisations like that. So that's really critical for us. You know, it's not just about that brand alignment. We're not really looking at partners for that. And then also we really look at what resources are required from Beyond Blue to service a partner. And that's really important too, because you know, there's no point bringing on this amazing, huge partnership if you can't actually deliver on that partnership. Because, you know, partners do take time. Like, if you're going to do partnerships properly, they do take time. So that was really important for us to identify those things and to be really clear. And then we always set our partnership up for success. So we usually hold a planning meeting with the partner, we agree on objectives, and we develop a partnership plan. And then the key is then, after we've done all of that, it's about managing the partnership. So it's not a set and forget. So it's not at the end of the partnership, 12 months, we you know, get out our objectives and look at them again. We always have regular monthly for us. We have monthly meetings with our partners, and we do that. And through those meetings, we grow the relationship with the partner. We're constantly looking for opportunities to identify and leverage the partnership for both parties. So it's not necessarily just what we initially put in, because what we found is, as our relationships evolve, that the partnerships always evolve. And, you know, we find all these amazing new things that we can do together. And I think, and also acknowledging the partner is incredibly important. And what we found in the current environment is just having that solid foundation in place really has enabled us to, first of all, partner with the right partners for the right reasons. And this has been really fundamental in the current environment. And I think it's really gone a long way as to why we've been able to retain all of our partners in this time.
Great, fantastic. Excellent. We've got a question here that's come through on the Q&A from Kirsty, and it's specific to Beyond Blue, and hope you feel free to be able to answer this, Linda, in the best possible way. The question from Kirsty is, what do partners get from Beyond Blue for their money? That's the question from Kirsty. Can you give us some insights there, please?
Yeah. Look, it really depends on the partnership and what we're both trying to achieve. So we don't just have we've got our list of assets. We work with our partner to work with them to meet our mutually beneficial objectives. But some of the things can be like a proudly partner logo, which is really valuable because, you know, that brand alignment is really important to them. And we've got strong brand awareness, so being aligned to Beyond Blue is really valuable. One of the key things that we find our partners are really interested in is our evidence-based mental health information. Right. So that's, you know, we work with them depending on the level of partnership. Sometimes we'll come up with some content together with them using our information and their information that could be shared out through their channels. So that's really valuable information that they want. We've got lived experience speakers. So they're people who have been experienced a mental health condition, and so they're also really valuable. So our speakers go out to different events and workplaces and just talk about their own experiences. And that's incredibly powerful and a really important program that we run at Beyond Blue because it allows people to hear the experiences of somebody else that they themselves may have also experienced. And it's really important for reducing stigma. And we do find that our speakers are in high demand, particularly around World Mental Health Month. Yeah, it's really, really challenging to get one of our speakers because they're already booked up. So they're just, I suppose, you know, we've got like a whole range of assets that we do provide, but they're probably some of the key ones.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Kirsty, has that been helpful for you, that question and the answer that Linda's just provided there? Drop into the chat box, Kirsty, and let us know if that's been helpful. There's definitely some ideas there that I hadn't thought about in terms of speakers and that sort of evidence-based material. I'm sure that might be something that you can all be thinking about today. What else do we actually have? What are we sitting on? What is this mountain of value that we can actually bring out through our partners? So thank you very much for sharing that, Linda. Linda, Garnett, we're going to wrap up this session in just a second. Can you give us some final thoughts, observations on Beyond Blue and what some of those key takeouts are that you'd like to share with other organisations?
Look, it's wonderful to hear from Linda Beyond Blue, and congratulations on all the successes you're having. And some great things that we've already touched upon that I really want people to think about, which is around that strategic alignment around values, around outcomes, because it's not just about this kind of cheap philanthropy, as I call it, is definitely under pressure. The ones where you just had a good relationship with someone in an influential position and they found some money for you. Now it's really going to be about strategic alignment. And I heard yesterday that Coles supermarkets were about to renew and review a whole bunch of their existing partnerships. And their aim is, as a result of it, is not to spread themselves as thinly, but actually concentrate on the really strategically aligned relationships and go deeper. So expect to see some changes there. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few other organisations are doing the same. And one of the things that's changing in the environment at the moment is really being driven by consumer behaviour and beliefs that are changing. And there's a couple of really great pieces of research by the Edelman Trust Barometer and by McKinsey, which talk about the changes in consumer behaviour. And a couple of those stats really spoke out to me. One which basically said 89% of consumers expect a corporate to show that they're helping during this crisis. And 65% said they would change their purchasing behaviour as a result. And even more sort of, an alarm bell for corporates, which is 1 in 3 have already punished brands that did not respond well.
Really? Wow, that's high.
So corporates are really having to step up and go, we really need to demonstrate our social purpose. We need to demonstrate not just our alignment to a cause, but our commitment to community, whether that's a local community, in your high street, in Bairnsdale, Victoria, in Wagga Wagga, wherever that is. But more generally, are we actually helping the community during a really difficult time? So just remember, as consumers, you have power, and it's really shaping the way that corporates are responding. So I'd say there are opportunities, as Beyond Blue has shown, but what you actually need to do is get organised, get systematic about it, be really strategic, get your own internal ducks in a row, and position yourself better, because the market undoubtedly will be more competitive in the future. That doesn't mean there are not opportunities. There are some great ones. They're likely to be bigger and richer ones. You actually need to get yourself organised, get a system and a framework in place before you go out there, and before a well-meaning board member sends you one of those little post-it notes going, here's the ASX top 200, why don't you just start with A and work your way through to Z? You'll be able to tell them why that's not the case and why you're making much more informed and strategic choices about your new partners.
Yeah, great one, Linda. And someone's just popped a note there saying it'd be great to have access to that consumer behaviour report as well, which is that sharing that evidence back internally, showing people what the changes are there. So we can definitely get that link from Linda and share that with you after today's session. We're going to say goodbye to Linda Smith now. We're going to stay on the line. We've got more questions here coming through to answer. I've got a question here about the different ways that we can support our partners. What are the ways to give back to the givers? We've got a question here about social procurement and partnership development. So we'll jump onto those questions for you shortly as well. So if everyone can just help me do a virtual round of applause for Linda Smith from Beyond Blue for coming on the show. Jump into the chat box. What's one thing that Linda has shared with you today that you're going to take away from the session today? Everyone's jumping in there now. Thank you very much. Some brilliant ideas, Linda, and suggestions to practice with partners. That's it. Go off and experiment on those lovely partners of yours. This is a time for innovation. This is a time to be able to say, let's have those conversations about what we can do together, and no ideas are off the table. So, be brave. That's one of the big messages that's been coming through on the live shows so far. Thank you. Look at those beautiful messages there. Solving problems, not selling. Thank you very much. Great that that's been helpful for you all today. We've loved having you on the show, Linda Smith. Thank you so much for taking us under the hood of Beyond Blue. It's always interesting and intriguing to actually see some of the organisations that we love in our country, and actually going behind the scenes and seeing how it actually works. So it's lovely to have you here. We hope we can do some more with you into the future.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I've loved it.